And welcome back to episode 3 of Reels Again. Gord, we are still cooking.
3 episodes in, we're still doing it. We've tripled our production.
Tripled the production. You know what, though? We're consistent. Just like you got to be in this real estate market, you got to be consistent.
You got to be consistent for sure.
And we've been getting some feedback, which honestly I take as
We've been chirped.
We've been chirped, yeah, by quite a few people. But they're watching it.
At least they're watching it.
They're saying, hey, last episode we looked a little red. And
the audio was terrible.
The audio was
my
terrible.
fault.
Which I think now we're going to sound crystal clear.
I think it's going to sound
3 times
much
the
better.
time, right? Takes us.
We've got our podcast voices. We've
Here
been
we
going
go.
to voice training.
Yeah, maybe it's just us that don't have the right voice. But we're cooking now.
We are.
We're
So,
excited.
How was your week? You had a crazy week.
I did. We lucked out over the holidays. We didn't get that crazy flu. I feel like we were healthy all of December, all of January. And then my youngest, who's 2.5, like since Saturday, high fever, this gnarly cough, to the point now she's got 2 puffers going, but
So
she's
scary.
good. Yeah, scary.
So scary when they're that young and they can't really tell you exactly what's going on.
Right?
And you're not sure and
yeah,
you're not
and
sleeping.
they're just crying and they're miserable and they're not eating. You're worried about dehydration, all the things. And then, mom and dad aren't sleeping. And so, it was a good 4 or 5 days, but she's back at daycare today. So knock
That's
on
good.
wood.
Knock on wood. Yeah, she's
I guess
feeling better.
the brick. But she's back. How's your dog, though?
Well,
we both got Bernedoodles. So they like to get into some...
Well, yeah, so our Bernedoodle, he loves to eat stuff, and he ate a baby toy, a stuffed animal, and he had it in his stomach for about 11 days. We didn't know. It came out the way it went in, but then something else was stuck in there.
Oh, no.
And stuck a little further down the pipe. And anyways, 2 days in the vet and a lot of money, and it got medically removed, and he's back.
He's back.
So,
he's eating sticks and toys again,
back
or what?
Basically, he is,
Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, so...
And do you have pet insurance? Because everyone always
No,
asks
we can't
me.
get it because when he was a puppy, he had surgery. So he's got a pre-existing condition and like a massive habit of eating sticks.
So would you have gotten it?
In
Obviously,
hindsight, yeah, it would have
2020? Because we never
way
got it.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
It's the
wanna
most
share?
expensive dog in the.
I was
in
going to
the-
say, you want to
in
share what
the-
these things cost? I have no idea what like a surgery costs. It's like $5,000.
It's double that.
Oh, in here.
So so he got surgery in the States. It was double that, and surgery here, if you get it at the vet, is about $4,000. But that doesn't include all the other things leading up to it.
Yeah.
And if you get emergency surgery, she said if it like happens at night, it's gonna be double. Like it'll be $10,000.
Holy cow.
So yeah,
Well, I'm glad he's feeling better.
It was over $3,000 for the 2 days and all the treatments. But I mean, it's
Sounds
like part of
we're-
the family.
Yeah,
What are you
oh,
gonna do, right?
100% part of the family.
Yeah.
Good old Marv. No way we're going to let anything happen to him.
That's right.
The girls get annoyed by Marvy, but he's still. I got 3 girls and Marv. Marv's my boy, so I gotta make sure.
You gotta stick together.
Yeah, I gotta stick together.
When you have a vote.
We have a vote.
It's always
Yeah.
2 against 3, right?
Yeah, we're still outnumbered.
Trevor the dog doesn't count
Yeah,
as
the
a
dog
vote.
doesn't count as a vote.
He's got 4 paws. He raised 2 of them.
Yeah,
It's a tie.
look at it. He's always up on his 2 legs. Yeah, no, but definitely part of the family.
Mhm.
And then I was at BuzzFest this week or last week.
And explain what BuzzFest is. If it's not the cannabis conference, correct?
No, people are buzzing around. It is one of the bigger real estate conferences for us in that it's there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of mindset, motivation, but it's also kind of the disruptors of the industry of like what people are doing and what's kind of coming in. So obviously a huge topic was AI and just like, is it replacing the realtor? It seemed like every person came up and was like, the realtor is not being replaced. Yay.
Well, we're getting so many ads now about cloning yourself to make social media. So, hey, if you're a realtor, you're wasting so much time on social media, like filming your own videos. Clone yourself and get your clone to do it.
Yeah.
So, full disclosure, like,
we're real.
You're real. Okay.
Real. Yeah.
So, you're not an AI clone. So,
No.
but what do you
I wouldn't
think?
even know how to do that anyway. So.
No, it's so complicated. You have to get AI to do it.
Yeah. AI, how do I make me not real? You are stupid. No. Yeah, so it was really good.
What did they say about AI? Like, what do you think AI is going to do? Like in the next year?
Like
say,
what everybody's kind of talking about in that it's more a tool versus like replacing, because the face-to-face interaction, the holding your hand, the human element of managing emotions and whatnot, I saw this cool little ad, actually. I think it was Claude or whatever the competitor is for OpenAI, and they had it as like two real people, but one individual was AI talking, and the other guy was just a person trying to like do a workout plan, and how he interacted as a person if he was AI to the guy, and it's mind blowing. Where you're like, oh, you really see that they don't have. It's like, yes, I will help you with that, and this is how we will do it step by step. He's like, but no, I want to know X, Y, Z. And he's like, but we can't help you with this, that, whatever. And it's the interaction of how you still need that human element. And then it also talked about ads in general. But yeah, essentially tools and AI being a partner in your business. So kind of how like everything right now in the world is, it's supporting you and maybe making you more efficient and faster in things, but it's not going to replace still the face-to-face, the human interaction, us knowing. You can ask it to analyze stats, but only so many algorithms and things you can look at doesn't put into account the emotional element and us knowing everything to do with that community and neighborhood and things that have happened in the past or what have you,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So it was really interesting, but there wasn't too much new technology that I was like, I don't know, that was really eye-opening, like, whoa, this is crazy.
I think AI is so new to like the mainstream that it's being used for things like, writing listing descriptions and, like changing photos, like virtual staging, but it hasn't got to the point yet where it's advanced so far that it can do, or at least as we're aware, they can do like, incredibly complicated tasks for what we do.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but like the feature state thing just and the listing stuff made me think of like the double dash. And I feel like now if you are using AI and you would come across a listing and see a double dash, I immediately am like, wow, this guy just plugged it into chat and really didn't put any thought or effort into it because he didn't even, or she didn't even remove the double dash, right? And it's like, are we going to become this kind of
let
lazy?
Me know if you want me to rewrite this in a more friendly version, or
yeah, well, no, it's like it's that
list.
Long line, right?
I know, yeah.
And it's like 101. You see that, you're like, oof. And what I was even telling my VA was, when we can utilize chat for sure, but you need to prompt it with questions to elevate our, listing experience and words, and make it then find really, searchable from an SEO standpoint, so it does pop up. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over, if you look at them, I'm like, we sound robotic and exactly the same. So you can have a starting point. I like to write ours out, then give it to, say, chat or AI or whoever, and let them kind of
polish it or give you some
polish it, elevate it, and then come back to us and then finish it again, so that we've really put it through the ringer, right?
Right.
Where then you see, I don't want to, AI might make people lazy where they're not doing that. They're just set it and forget it.
And they might not even read through it. So, I did this and put it on, and it's, there's mistakes or there's errors in it, or it's not accurate.
To your point, where you see something in there being like, it answers the question like in the actual description.
Exactly.
You're like, oh God, dude. Like, you kidding me? You didn't read that?
They didn't read it. They didn't, or they just copied the whole thing and pasted it.
Right. So the conference talked a lot about AI in general, but it seems like it's going to be more from a partnership standpoint. And there was some cool add-ons of like home value and certain automations and some different home insurance elements. And I think the rental industry, they talked about that to kind of help you navigate that kind of from a consumer experience standpoint of keeping you more involved versus just on the sidelines waiting. It's more that consumer experience.
Right. And I think, with respect to home values, like AI can look at statistics, square footage, other sales on the street or in the area, but it can't smell what if someone smoked in the house, or it can't, if there's a view out of the back window that's, either really great or not so good, and all kinds of, what's the neighbor's house like? Is there, Sanford and Son living next door? Is it like pristine? Things like that AI just can't do.
Well, and it's going to make us better too. Like if you're using it for the right reasons, if you're not using it, you're going to be left behind.
That's for sure going to be left behind.
That's inevitable in probably any industry. But it is making us better. To your point, it's like I need to analyze these stats pretty quickly can you break it down? But you know what was actually one really cool thing that they did up there? They asked chat how accurate chat thinks it is on certain questions.
Oh, that's
which
interesting.
was really cool.
What did it say?
Like when he did an actual stat one for real estate on a specific neighborhood, they're like, okay, now how do you feel accurate of representation this is? And it said 20%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
It was wild. I should have mentioned that. We should have started with that. That was a cool moment. Also, Mark Shapiro, though, was there, not to transition out of AI, but the Jays seem like they're going to be a wagon this year. I don't know.
They've got the momentum. They just have to keep it going. It's, what an exciting season last year. And I can't wait for it to start. Huge fan.
And something really resonated with me is he was talking about their mission statement and how him and Ross were like going back and forth, and they had this long-winded mission statement that he's like was really good, but he's like, still to this day, I couldn't tell you what it was. But they were in the car talking, and he's like, how can we just always get better every day? Like, how can we just incorporate something like that? And then they were just sitting there like, why isn't the mission statement just get better every day? And they incorporated like win championships into that too. I think it was like get better every day to win championships for the country of Canada or something. This is the mission statement. We said everywhere, plastered everywhere, is just get better every day. And anyone that knows me specifically, and you've probably heard me say this too, is just you got to be better. I always say be better, be better. So that was a cool little moment for me. Like, was like, wow, like everybody, not everybody, but the little simple things of just always trying to get better. My dad always said, do the classic 110%. You'll be better than everybody else. I know that doesn't make math sense, but it always resonated with me. So that little be better.
Well, if you're, especially in today's world, you talked about AI, like if you're doing things the same way you always did, you're going to get the same results. And and we've talked about it with just simple things like listing photos, like, looking at how can this be, better, and, how can you make yourself better? So if you're focusing on that every day, you're going to improve, and it's small steps at a time, but over the long haul, it makes a big difference.
And you were here yesterday when we had those two coaches come in. And it was all about those like little wins, like how do we get to that 5-year goal? And you break it down for the little wins. And sometimes you have to plug and play and remove things. But if you aren't just chipping away consistently, being better,
and you will get left behind.
Yeah,
there's no question about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So we kind of went on an AI tangent, but we were going to talk condos because it sounded like some people had some questions.
Well, there's so much in the news about the real estate market, but condos in particular. And there was a lot of new construction that happened. It slowed down dramatically, and people are wondering, like, is now a good time to buy a condo?
Mm-hmm. I'm Mr. Positive, and I think we always talk about this too, you and I, Gord, of like understanding people's wants and needs. And you could argue being like, for the investor right now, it's not a good time because, maybe cash flow doesn't make sense, or maybe the maintenance fees are too high, or, interest rates, right? That's one side. But then there's another side of like, there's a ton of actually opportunity, and like, how long are you going to be holding this thing as an investor? And are you really actually looking at now what interest rates are today? Because you may be very close to that cash flow middle ground standpoint where you're not positive, but you're also not negative, depending on the situation, right? And, I specifically was looking at it from an inheritance standpoint of like having my kids, right? Something I could leave for them one day and hold this for the next 20 years. Maybe I'm not going to make, 20% on the condo, but there's an opportunity here where I can get in, put some money down that is, let's say, an investment if I bought a stock or a GIC or a mutual fund, and somebody else is going to pay that mortgage for the next 20 years. And then I get to gift the kids this $800,000 condo that maybe, was still $800 and now it's worth $800, but I only made what, $180,000 investment, right? And people are going to talk about interest on the mortgage and whatnot. But again, people were paying that the whole time. So I think there's opportunities everywhere. That's only one little example of the investor. But how are you finding it? Or what do you want to say?
Well, I was going to say basically the same thing. So it kind of depends. Like if you're an investor, you might want to wait because the forecast is, rates or prices in condos are supposed to drop. Mm-hmm. But like you said, there's a lot of great opportunities out there. And if you're planning to move in, now's a great time. Like there's lots of really good deals. And, if you find the right unit that fits for you, why not move in now and enjoy it? Yeah, maybe it'll go down in value a little bit as the year progresses, but in the long haul, it's going to go up again, and you'll be able to enjoy everything that it has to offer. And like there's so many on the market, like there's 6,000 condos on the market in the GTA right now.
The entire GTA.
Entire GTA.
Does that include condo towns as well, or
just condo apartments? So tons of choice. And then you can look at specific buildings. You can look at like specific amenities that you particularly want. So yeah, I think it's a great time to buy.
Well, and I do a lot in Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you didn't have these opportunities for the 2 beds, 2 baths that you do now today. And those, from a cash flow rental standpoint, always were higher than the 1 bedrooms. And it made the margins and, numbers make a lot more sense. And
because it's appealing to a couple or a partnership.
A couple, or you could have two
roommates.
So a couple where you have one is a guest room / office. Mm-hmm. And you can be there longer. You can have a kid. You can, have a home office. You can have people stay over. The square footage in general is usually bigger. You're usually in that 800 square feet and up, right? So you can actually live in the space longer too, because you don't feel like you're on top of each other. Mm-hmm. And those really came down, right? Because at peak, you were looking at, like, for the high end developers, about $1,400 a square foot for resale, and then about $1,600 a square foot for pre-con in some pockets, right? Like the higher end stuff. Probably the average was, $1,200 a square foot for, like, across the board on everything. And now, like, there's stuff that is 900. Some is like, if you sniff close to 1,000, that's a huge win, especially for resale. I'm only talking resale right now, not pre-con.
And as the units get bigger, the price per square foot generally comes down. So that kind of gives you the opportunity to look, instead of maybe a 800 square foot unit, you can get into maybe 900, 1,000, 1,200. Some of the older buildings have bigger, 2 bedrooms or sometimes 2+1s, and yeah, and price per square foot is really good.
And I don't think I said this on the last episode, but I literally had somebody that had their 1+1, like 600 square foot unit. They bought in 2019. We sold it. They pretty much broke even on the dot. I'd say maybe just a hair under. Mm-hmm. And they upgraded to a 2-bed, 2-bath unit. And the difference was like, 55, 65K or something like that. I can't remember exact numbers off the top of my head. But they were like, okay, I didn't make money, but I did live rent-free for 6 years. I got my foot in the door. I now was able to leverage this condo for at least a break even to then now upsize to something. And my mortgage and payments didn't really change that much. Mm-hmm. And now they're in a bigger product, right? So, like, that's what I mean. This is just an example. There's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah. So a couple of things came to mind when you said that. So, like, originally they got in. So for people, and we always hear this, like, how are, younger people going to get into the market? Now's a good time. And interest rates, we think it's going to be stable for a while. So you're not sort of have to wait to see if that's going to drop. It's a good opportunity to get into, maybe a smaller unit, but then also for upsizing, as you said, if somebody's in a smaller unit, maybe now's the time to move to a bigger one for not that much more. And because they were already in the market, they've got that equity built up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do we talk about maintenance fees?
No, we should. So I think there's a few things to talk about. So, like, if you're looking at a building, there's some of them have like gyms and swimming pools and concierge and rooftop patios, and some don't have any. And, the maintenance fees are often reflected in that, like how many, facilities there are, for the residents to enjoy. And then also sometimes based on age, like the maintenance fees can be drastically higher for older buildings that maybe weren't managed that well. Status certificate, which kind of tells the financial health of the building. It'll say how much is in the reserve fund. That's important to look at. So there's all kinds of things. So, what do you look for with maintenance fees? Or do you have a sort of a rule of thumb or a guideline on?
Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head on so many things there. Where I think, again, it comes down to understanding what people can afford and what they're looking for.
Because the maintenance fee is going to, like, whatever your mortgage payment is, the maintenance fee has to be on top of that.
On top of that, exactly.
That's so important to consider.
So some things I always say, especially with Toronto, let's say if you're around 70 to 80 cents a square foot, that's about the average right now. If you're at that dollar mark and higher, that's a little concerning. However, you got to be careful with that statement in that sometimes the $1.10 a square foot includes hydro, water, gas.
A lot of the older buildings for sure have that.
And they sometimes include cable, internet, and these are good, programs that aren't the basic, let's say, programs. So you would have been paying that stuff out of pocket anyways, right? So it's sometimes easier to just say, I have one thing guaranteed every single month other than my property tax and my mortgage, and I know, like, set it and forget it.
For budgeting purposes,
For budgeting purposes. And to your point too, the older condos, like I feel like the condo has that sweet spot of, like, the first 5 years is a bit of the growing pains in that it's new. Maybe there's going to be some issues that the developer wasn't anticipating. The property management is learning how things work. They're seeing how much they need to clean the building. Do we have the right staff? Are we putting enough, towards the reserve fund? And it's that learning curve of 5 years.
Right. Because when a building's first released to the condo corp, they start with a budget, but it's just a budget. And once they have 5 years, they know what sort of the actual expenses are actually going to be. They find out how much it costs for security and cleaning and snow plowing and garbage removal and all that.
100%. And by usually year 6, you've had 2 reserve fund studies. So the engineers are being like, okay, everything actually is operating and looking good, and we should be good till, year 20.
Right.
So
and a reserve fund study is where an engineer comes in, they look at the building, they say, okay, look, the elevator's lifespan is 40 years. So in 40 years from now, we need to plan for an elevator replacement. So start putting that in the budget.
The windows on the west side of the building are deteriorating faster than we thought because they're getting hit with sun all day. They look at everything, right?
So good condo boards will plan for that.
They will plan for that. All condo boards should plan for that. But to your point of, like, having a good board or
having a good plan, they'll all plan for it, but some will have better plans than others.
Yeah, exactly. And having, I always say the dream team is, like, you have somebody that's like a lawyer, an accountant, and maybe some good old realtor like us on the board, right? That is keeping the condo operational, making good decisions for everybody, because only once a year you have these meetings and then you vote on things of, we're going to put more money towards snow removal and landscaping. Hey, the parking garage, we've been dealing with that leak. It now needs to be addressed. We have to deal with it. We don't want to have a special assessment. For those who don't know what a special assessment is, it's in addition to your maintenance fees. So
a one-time fee.
Well, it could be over like a 2-year span, but yeah, it's a one-time fee. So it might be like, this is going to cost, $200,000. Every single unit owner needs to pay $10,000. The unit owners vote, being like, let's spread this out over 2 years. And then there's a special assessment. Now, special assessment, people get scared by that too, but you got to remember that your condo is a corporation and it's an investment. So if you don't have a special assessment and you just let that go into the maintenance fees, well, now when you go to sell, your maintenance fees are at $1, $1.20, and those aren't ever coming back down. And now from an attractive resale standpoint, there's already that stigma of, like, hey, what's wrong? So having a good board that can make these decisions is huge.
100%. And also, so when the maintenance fees are astronomically high in relation to what you're getting, that affects the value of the unit 100%. Itself.
You are not going to sniff what the other condos are going for.
And it's because of that overall budget, the mortgage fee plus the maintenance fee.
Exactly.
It's going to add up to a number. And if the maintenance fee is here.
Well, and two, when you're getting pre-approved, right, they ask if it's a condo because they have to take into account the maintenance fees every single month for your actual approval. So that can move the needle too. You could be in love with this building and you can afford maybe the building down the street, but because the maintenance fees are a little bit higher, you either need to come up with more money or you're not going to get, financially approved, which would suck, right? So, I think too, a lot of things we're kind of giving a high overview here, but it also comes down to the developer, right? In that you gotta know, again, especially downtown, but across the GTA, I always think it's like, remember HGTV, like Income Property and Brian Balmer, or Leave It to Brian, and people would watch this show and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna gut my house and flip my house, and it must happen like over a weekend." Meanwhile, like it was film for 3 months, right? As we all know.
Which is quick.
Which is quick.
It'll take a year to do that.
Exactly. So I feel like there was this wave of like everybody was not a developer, but there's so many developers now, boutique, low end, mid end, high end, and really understanding who is building and who's involved is a big.
Well, especially now you're talking pre-construction.
Well, not even pre-construction. I'm saying like a 7-year-old Tridel building.
Correct.
Is going to look a lot different than, I'm not going to say a name, but than that building. I don't want to be negative, but Tridel, everybody knows it is a very reputable, higher end builder. And at year 7, your maintenance fees will likely be lower than most, and it shouldn't have the wear and tear if it's a majority owner occupied building. And it has that, higher end. You're not going to have that stigma. You should have that luxury feel that will probably protect your investment, say, better than something else. So sometimes I can name a handful right now in Toronto that my clients that work with me be like, we're not going to go into that building because it was built by somebody and that person went bankrupt and they had a ton of issues. The property management has a ton of issues. There's constant leaks.
So there's shortcomings in the actual construction.
Exactly. And it's cheap though. So you're like, well, cheap. I can get this 2-bed, 2-bath at like $650 a square foot and like whatever. I'll just hope things get better.
But you mentioned owner occupied. So in those buildings where maybe that's a little because of the price point, maybe it's a little more attractive to investors. And then so you talk about owner occupied. So maybe there's less owners occupying those units, more renters, and perhaps it's just not being maintained or looked after the same way.
You're going to pay to have your tenant call you and say, hey, the dishwasher leaked above, all my stuff's ruined. You better put me in an Airbnb now. Like, are you actually protecting your investment? Then your maintenance fees are high. So we go back to that cash flow element, right?
So it's super important to look for maintenance fees and understand more than just the fee, but the building itself. How well was it built? How long has it been around? Is there been special assessments over the years? Have the maintenance fees jumped? Or are they sort of following inflation?
Condos
What's the reserve fund?
They're a different beast.
So there's so much to know about them.
There's so much to know, and I think people just get maybe not misguided, but they just feel like it's this simple introduction product that is a one size fits all. And if it's in a location and it looks really flashy, great. But meanwhile, you got to look behind the curtains to me more than anything. Like, it's like homes. When you walk in a home, I love seeing the old carpet, the laminate floors, the laminate countertops, the chip paint or the bright pink walls and the builder, I call them the nipple lights, you know what I mean? And it's so easy to change that stuff out and get the biggest ROI, right? I love that stuff. And you can get a product that is in a location that you want at probably a better price versus getting sold the flashy white oak floors and stainless steel appliances, which that stuff isn't even hard to do and expensive.
It's not that expensive. And then so like a flip, for example, someone may have done a quick renovation, and now we're, I guess, more talking about leaning towards houses, but it can happen in condos as well. You just don't know how well that, like either the floor, or the kitchen, or the bathrooms were put in. How well was the tiling done? So I agree with you. I like to find something that's more original and maybe stood the test of time. And then the clients or the buyers can go and make it their own, change it exactly to their taste, and then pay for the contractors and get the quality work that they want done. So it's going to last another X 20 or 30 years.
100%.
So, yeah.
And I think back to condos we should address, and I'm sure the sellers are being like, well, is it a good time for me to sell, right? And you talk about 6,000 units being available.
Yeah, so 6,000 units are on the market right now. It's a ton. In December, 750 sold. So I think it's about
weird month though.
Hard month
to gauge. Yeah.
About 12%.
Yeah.
And then so that was split kind of basically between 1 bedrooms or 1 plus a den, 2 bedrooms, and then a very small percentage were 3 and up. But I think that kind of
resale or only
that's resale.
No pre-construction.
No pre-construction. It's all on Trev. Well, it could be pre-construction with remaining inventory.
Yeah.
But I think it also speaks to the proportionality of the way buildings are built. So older buildings would have had more 2 and 3 bedroom units, and newer buildings, there's a high proportion of 1 bedrooms, a bachelor, 1 plus a den, very few 3 bedrooms, maybe only on the upper floors. So I think the sales went in that way, and the average price was $615,000. So
for the GTA.
for the GTA.
Mhm.
So which speaks to, again, there's deals. If that's the average price,
But as a
there's
seller,
deals out there.
are they worried?
I've-
I have my thoughts.
I think as a seller, they would be worried.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. But I think, again, we talked about this before, selling it. So the forecast, like the Royal LePage forecast for 2026, the outlook was condos are going to decrease in value 6.5% over the course of 2026. So you're better to sell now and, just, risk selling in 9 months from now and getting less. But, again, going back to the buyer side, if you're like, there's still deals out there with that many on the market, you can negotiate a good price for yourself and then begin to enjoy it. Start paying down a mortgage rather than continue to pay rent for the rest of the year. And if, you might get it for a bit less in September, but you've also just paid maybe $3,000 a month, for 10 months.
Yeah.
So
it comes back to the product itself and what you want to do. Obviously there is a lot of competition.
there's 6,000.
There's a lot of competition, but I think what at least I'm noticing right now is the flashy stuff and the small product that like the juniors, the bachelors, the less than 450 square foot, and then the higher end stuff from not necessarily like luxury 1,500 square foot condos. I'm not saying that as a higher end stuff, more that you had this 500 square foot developer that is known for being a higher price per square foot and has the white oak and whatnot, Melee appliances, the soft loft feel, right? And that stuff was always so hot. I'm noticing that stuff too has kind of come back. And what's really, taking off or at least moving is if you've got that parking, you've got that locker, you have that square footage, that good footprint, and it is
huge features to have, parking and a locker, and so great for resale.
And you are priced right. Like you gotta be in that 2019 range ish. And I'm using that as a high overview of the entire GTA. Every market's different. But if you are taking into account all those things, I at least feel like as a seller, you shouldn't be that concerned if you fall into that condo market because that stuff is moving. The first time buyers want it. Mm-hmm. The investors are coming if the numbers do make sense. And to your point, I think over the next 18 months, we're going to find out if they're going to remove the foreign buyer prohibition, mm-hmm. right? Which could change things.
It will change things.
2027 psychologically, even though it might not change overnight, but psychologically, there is no real big master plans from these big condo developers to continue building 2027 onward. So even if there is 8,000 units, mm-hmm. the psychological element is that they're not building anymore. So if immigration and people start coming back to the market, the first time buyer, things get a little bit easier, the groceries come down, let's see. And they start chipping away at this, and then they say, okay, let's start building. Well, you could have that run, right? And to your point of, I think the next 2-3 years are going to be a little shaky for sure from a condo standpoint. And we get asked this all the time. When's the right time to buy? And I don't have a crystal ball. I would not be doing real estate if I knew the answer to the forecast the future. But we asked them, what do you want to do? What are we trying to achieve here? And yes, if you bought today and it's going to go down maybe 6% by the end of next year, are you going to lose sleep over that? If the answer is yes, then yeah, now is not the time to buy. Mm-hmm. But we also don't know the future and all these other variables, and things could increase. And we are, in my opinion, pretty close to a bottom. There's probably going to be a little bit more, but I think
it seems like the market's picked up even in the last week or two.
Right?
Like showings are like on the increase.
100%. And
buyers are seem to be coming out.
I'm seeing a ton of sold conditional now for prices that everything is like 18K, 25K, 50K, like under for condos. I'm talking condos, but they're moving. I think the sellers are understanding that too. And then we talked about it. If you are upsizing, there's opportunity because everything in a way is on sale.
It's the delta difference, right?
It's the delta difference. Yeah. And the downsizers, I don't know why you're that upset at seeing these condo prices hurting, because you're probably going into that product. And if you're going to be in that product for the next 10 years, I
It'll
can
be just
constantly
fine.
say you're going to be okay. Easily.
And if you bought a condo 10 years ago and you sold it today, you're going to do just fine.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like the people that are like, hey, I broke even or I lost a little bit. Well, you weren't paying somebody else's mortgage. You were paying yourself. And I know it sucks. We've all had bad investments at times, but just like the stock market, are you going to panic when things come down, or are you going to hold and maybe get that average cost lower, right? What are you going to do with that money that you're porting?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's going into a product that is probably going to, the delta increase over time and pay you then some on the loss, it makes sense, right? So for us sellers, I don't know. I think also too comes down to marketing as well.
It comes down to marketing.
You got to be spending money to make sure you are making this product look top shelf. Like it's got to be turnkey. The stuff that
because it's so competitive.
It's so competitive.
It's got to be staged properly. It's got to be marketed properly. Got to have great photos.
And sometimes it's like the mind games of, if you notice in the area, everybody's at market value. Are you going to just be that, fish that gets thrown in the bowl and we all look exactly the same? Or are we that little, Dory or whatever her name is that stands out, and mix it up, change the psychological element of people and play those mental, mind games of, why is this guy, withholding offers in a bad condo market? Well, I'm getting 40 people through the door.
Mm-hmm.
You've been sitting for 3 months. Mine might be a little bit more of a high risk, high reward situation, but at the end of the day, people are seeing it and they can make their own decision, right? Once you're in the homes or the condos, you see it, you feel it. It's a lot harder to not be like, oh, I really like this. And then be like, I don't want it now.
That's right. Once they're in, and that's the key, getting people through.
The door.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we touched on a bunch of things.
I think
today.
we did. Yeah, it was a good episode.
That was a good episode.
Yeah.
You got a dad joke?
Do I have a dad joke? I always have a dad joke.
I'm going to go first.
All right, you go first.
Mine might be a little bit more R-rated dad joke. But
all right, so if kids are watching at home, please.
They don't think they'll understand it. But how did Burger King get Dairy Queen pregnant?
How did Burger King get Dairy? I don't know.
He forgot to wrap his Whopper. You don't love that. I got another one.
All right.
It's a little. I think it was. What did Cinderella,
I'll try not to laugh.
What did Cinderella say to Prince Charming?
What?
Do you want to see if it fits? The shoe, guys. The shoe.
The shoe.
Why did the snowman?
Ladies and gentlemen, Trevor Beeson Comedy Club. It changes to yuck yucks.
That's fine. Why did the snowman just smile out of nowhere?
Why?
You saw the snowblower.
And that's a wrap. Like, how can I can't top. And last week I screwed up my joke.
Tell your classic dad red paint, blue paint joke.
I messed it up. Well, you were at the doctor this week. So I went to the doctor this week, and I told the nurse I got bit by a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Where?" I said, "No, regular." Good job.
Hey, great job, Gordo. Till next week.
Next week.
See you soon.